Welcome into the Urban Suite.
You here.
I got to give you a
I would like to extend a heartfelt welcome to you all.
hello.
Hey.
Yes.
Hello. Hi. Well.
You are entering the Urban Suite with Dr. Lisa Lacan. Let's talk about urban issues plaguing our community. Let's talk about mental health. Let's talk about sex.
Hello. You have landed in the Urban Suite with me, Dr. Lisa Lacan. Welcome. Listen, tonight we have an incredible show with filmmaker, actor, director, veteran Bryan Thompson. Let me tell you, this show is going to be really interesting. If you are an independent filmmaker, you definitely need to tune in because the tips that he's going to share with you all, this is going to be like a masterclass. I'm serious. And he does so much more. So let me tell you, this is interesting. I told you all, this is the year for indecent exposure. So much has happened, and we're only in the 6th month. Last week or 2 weeks ago, the former president was found guilty on 34 charges. Today, the sitting president's son was found guilty, I think, on 3 charges, gun possession. I mean, things are just happening. You know what? Tony Evans, the pastor, preacher, he said he had to sit down because of sin. I'm telling you, this stuff, exposure is happening right now to us in this country, and it's about getting right with God. We have to get right with God. I'm telling you guys, listen, I cannot shout loud enough. And I said this back in 2023, the end of 2023, that this is the year. 2024 will be the year of indecent exposure. So I need you all to come on in. I need you all to share. And for my folks, my audio on iHeartRadio, Apple, Amazon, they took Samsung off. So I don't know. Oh, Google, one of them. They took Google. I still have Samsung, but I can't even find that podcast. I don't even know. So listen, tonight I'm live on TikTok. So when I look this direction, I am talking to my TikTokers. I love TikTok. I tell you, sometimes I go down that TikTok tunnel. But anyway, we will be right back after a word from our sponsor, Blessed Ministries Incorporated, the premier workforce development agency in the great state of New Jersey, as well as our missing person. So we'll be right back. Stay with us. All right, so we are back with our missing person report, and every Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, every time I go live, I have to do my missing person, and tonight is no exception. So, who do we have tonight? We have Dory Joy Johnson. She's been missing since May 20th, 2024, and she's from Oakland, California. Listen, hold on, where's my bell? I need you folks from Oakland, California. I need you to look at her picture. I need you to share this information. She's 15 years old. She is someone's loved one. 15 years old, missing from Oakland, California since May 20th, 2024. Female, her race is black. Her complexion is medium. Her height is 4'9". She's 110 pounds. Her hair color is brown. Her hair length is long, and her eye color is brown. This is her location last seen. Adori was last seen in the 600 block of Hayes Street, Oakland, California. And unfortunately, the circumstances of her disappearance is unknown. We have no idea what happened. It's like these people, these children, they just vanish into thin air. I don't know what's happening. But anyone with information, please contact the Oakland Police Department, and their telephone number is area code 510-238-3641. Now I'm going to repeat that number again for my audio podcasters out there. That would be Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon, and Google. Not Google, Samsung, because Google has expired. Google doesn't have a podcast anymore. So anyway. All right. So Oakland Police Department, that telephone number is 510-238-3641. Or you can get in contact with the Black and Missing Foundation Incorporated, and their telephone number is 877-97-BAMFI, which translates into 22634. I'm going to repeat that number again, and I'm going to say it slowly. All right, it's 877-97-22634. Listen, let's bring 15-year-old Adori Joy Johnson home. All right, so we have behind the curtains. I'm talking to YouTube right now, so I'm going back and forth with my TikTokers. So we have behind the curtains this gentleman I met at Hampton University when he founded. He was the director of the Virginia Black Film Festival. I believe the first one of this caliber at Hampton, in Hampton University, as well as he's been doing the Miami Webfest for 10 years. He's a veteran. He has a JD degree. He's a filmmaker. He's a writer. He's a producer. His name is Mr. Bryan Thompson. Come on out from behind the curtain, Mr. Thompson. How are you?
I'm excellent. How are you?
I am doing well. So every guest that comes into the Urban Suite, you are now an urbanite. Yay!
I love it.
Oh, thank you. So thank you for being here. And, let's get right into it because I know you're very busy. You're a very busy man. So a little bit about yourself, which I said that you are filmmaker, an independent filmmaker, writer, director. How did that come about and why?
So it came about primarily because I felt that there was a need in the market for more and better positive Black role models in the film space. I wasn't at the time. This is particularly, way before Black Panther and a lot of the films that we've seen kind of in the last 10 years. I just felt a void there. I was a big fan of some of the movies in the 90s, during the 90s, there was a bit of a surge in Black content. And, I saw a lot of content that I felt was really good. And those projects just sort of faded away. And we got to a point where there just wasn't, in my opinion, enough representation of what I would call hopeful content, right? So content where we see ourselves in a very positive light, doing well, highly educated. The international spy, the person that there's people who are trying to do good things in the world, and then just families who maybe they're not rich, but they're also they're not destitute. They're just trying to find their way and heal from some of the issues that have sort of plagued our community over time, Jim Crow, and moreover, just the thought processes that keep a lot of people back because they don't necessarily believe or have the sufficient role models to allow them to kind of see what success looks like, right? So if you look at my body of work, I've done 12 feature films so far. Everything kind of points in those directions. It's all pretty much designed to show in multiple types of narratives. We have comedy, drama, action, a little bit of sci-fi, but in all cases, it's looking to not only tell a story, but also teach some lessons that I think are important for society today.
So, how did you actually get started? Because that's a hefty plate. You're a director, writer, a producer. So each one carries a set of different skill sets. So how did you get started? Like how did that happen?
All right, so I did some independent films as an actor. I wasn't getting the roles that I wanted, and I wasn't getting cast in movies that I felt really were telling the types of stories that I really wanted to be a part of. So I kind of felt this void, and so I was active duty at the time, so I didn't have like a whole lot of time to really be casting and doing things like that. So I deployed to Iraq in '07, '08. And during that time, I got an idea for my first feature film. And, I didn't know what I didn't know, right? So I'd never produced a film before. At that time, I really didn't have a lot of film education or anything like that. I just knew I wanted to get it done. And so when I said to myself, look, if I make it home alive, I'm going to pursue this dream with a whole heart, meaning I'm not gonna, half do it. I'm not gonna all negative speak has to go out the window because this is something enormously hard. At that time, I thought you needed millions and millions of dollars to make a movie, but I was convinced that if I put my mind to it and I was focused enough, I could do this. So I came home, and my thought process was, okay, I just want to do a short film, and if I can get the short film done, that's going to be good enough. And then I was having trouble getting a short film done, so then I was like, okay, let me do a trailer. So I found some independent filmmakers locally in Virginia, actually, and got together with them. They were like, well, the subject matter of your script is something we don't even know about, really. It's like it was a high action sort of espionage, I guess, sort of a Black 007 type of feel, right? And so they exposed me to Final Draft, and it's kind of, once you get into that program, then you just start learning. And so I started using Final Draft. And then it just became a process of learning by doing, right? Because, I believe that life is all about mastery, and you're not going to get it right the first time. And I knew that it wasn't going to be right the first time I did it. But I did I just set down the path, and the universe kind of got out of the way and God saw fit to open up some pathways for me. So those pathways ended up being, I did the trailer. The trailer was good, but it just wasn't really getting the job done, right? So then I was like, okay, I have to do a much more elaborate concept trailer in order to raise money. And in this concept trailer, since I know I'm trying to raise money now for a feature film, I'm going to identify who I'm going to use to play these key roles, and I need someone from Hollywood that's really going to be able to carry this main antagonist. So one of the people that I had in mind was Tony Todd, but in doing the concept trailer, I was like, okay, well, let me find someone who will play that role just for the concept trailer, and then I will hand it to the whoever the Hollywood actor is going to be, and we'll move from there. So when we got close to doing the trailer, it just so happened that one member of my crew actually knew Tony Todd and had been talking to him about the project, and he expressed to me through them, "Why are you doing the trailer without me?" So I was like, "Well, I assumed that since we hadn't raised money, I couldn't afford you." At the time, I was a captain in the army, so I had a little to work with, and so what ended up happening was he said, well, let's work it out. He worked it out with me. So Tony Todd, now the Candyman, flew from LA to Virginia, and we did a scene at the Virginia Living Museum, very elaborate scene. And then we did another very elaborate scene at the City Center, Newport News City Center at the Marriott.
Wow.
So that was my start.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, it kind of blossomed from there because, of course, I had instant credibility, right? With that's your first project.
Right. Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't a feature film. And I still believe that I needed a lot of money, like millions and millions of dollars, in order to be able to make a feature film. So the next thing was, as I'm going to investors, some of the objections that I'm getting is, well, you haven't really, you haven't had a starring role in a film, which is, if you know the story of Rocky, how Rocky was made, it was, this particular film was kind of like my Rocky, right? And I was convinced, because I kind of wrote the character for myself, that I was going to be able to pull it off. But I have a saying: no one believes in you until everyone believes in you.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So I was kind of challenged with that particular issue. And so what ended up happening is I was like, okay, well, you know what? I'm going to make a short. It's going to be a proof of concept. Because the other thing is I hadn't made any finished projects, only a very, very good concept trailer.
Mm-hmm.
And so I made this short called Noventa, which was also filmed in Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
And Noventa is about 3 Cubans escaping the island. So I had to make Hampton Roads look like Cuba, then and then 2 Puerto Ricans and a brother from Detroit had to go really deep into these characters, because the first maybe third of the movie is all in Spanish.
Oh.
So we went really deep into those characters. And my character, part of what I was doing was kind of channeling the life of Celia Cruz, who is an Afro-Cuban musician, for those of you who aren't familiar. And I really liked her music. And so we made the movie. And after we made the movie, then I started thinking about the fact that, okay, well, we made a movie. It's a drama. It's fiction. It's about Cubans, but it's about a very real situation that happens with a lot of Cubans. So I didn't want to be offensive, and I was concerned maybe it wouldn't be seen in the best light. But apparently we did so good that people actually thought that all 3 of us were Cuban. Well, it wasn't, it wasn't that much of a stretch, but for me, it was a stretch. And we ended up winning in Miami. We won in the Miami Independent Film Festival. We won best short. So that was like a really big deal, and it was a hugely validating moment. And from there, just a lot of things have kind of flowed from there.
Mm-hmm.
Shortly after that, again trying to get the millions of dollars, I decided that okay, well, I'm going to make a web series
Mm-hmm.
that is loosely based on the concept for the feature. And when I made this web series, the web series is called The Cell. So I
Mm-hmm.
made the web series. We won at several film festivals. We won at the Los Angeles Web Series Festival and a bunch of different festivals. But then things kind of, I don't want to say they went stagnant, but it just, I wasn't seeing, a lot of results, right? Because I didn't have distribution,
Right.
just me and my team. And once you exhaust your circle, then you kind of, as an indie filmmaker, you can be a little bit lost, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so one of the things that happened is I went to some film festivals where I didn't have a good experience. I didn't feel that I was getting enough out of the experience. So I
So I'm
set out.
sorry. So what did you want from the experience that you weren't getting?
So I was hoping to meet people who I could network with, who
Mm-hmm.
would see my work, who were not filmmakers, right? So I wanted my film to be screened in a place where people from the local community would actually watch it. And
Mm-hmm.
then I wanted for there to be speakers and panelists and actually people networking who were looking to help filmmakers get to the next level, either through education or through business deals. Um, and several festivals that I went to, I didn't get any of that.
Mm-hmm.
So at a certain point, I said, okay, well, I'm going to be getting out of the military. Um, so I want to go and live in Miami. I just, I grew up in Detroit. It's very cold. I said, okay, well,
Mm-hmm.
and so I knew, and I was going to be discharged from the military because of an injury, something happened in Iraq. So I'm like, okay, well, we're going to do this, and I'm going to move to Miami. And then it occurred to me, I should submit my web series to the Miami Web Series Festival. And I looked it up, and there was no Miami Web Series Festival.
Mm.
So now, mind you, I've just had a major surgery. I'm in the hospital. I can't walk. You
Oh.
know, and I said to my husband, bring me my laptop.
And this is as a result of being in Iraq.
Yeah, so so this is 2014. So this is like a residual effect. Basically, I
Okay.
had a growth in my lung,
Mm-hmm.
and it was blocking wind passages and was making me have pneumonia repeatedly. So they had to chop out a chunk of my lung.
Mm.
And so like I can't move, I'm like, bring me my laptop, she brings me my laptop, and I'm looking this up, and then when I find out there's no Miami Web Fest, then I just sat there with you have that moment where it's
Right.
like, I think God is talking to me right now, but I
Right.
just don't want to be too presumptive. You know what I mean?
Right.
So you just sit there with the laptop like,
I
okay,
know.
yeah,
Right.
right? And so it probably took me maybe 15 minutes of quiet reflection. And then I was just like, you know what, let me do this. Ticket. Registered the domain name that
And
night.
this is from the hospital bed that
Yeah.
you're typing, and you're like,
Exactly. And what I've found, and I think this is probably going to be helpful for most filmmakers, is that anything that you do that's hard, if you find your purpose, it doesn't feel hard anymore. You know what I mean?
right.
And so I think what was missing when I got to that point that I described to you, where it's like I made the web series, a bunch of people saw it, we got some awards, but nothing else is happening. And, it kind of feels like the people that were part of it are starting to kind of lose interest because they're not really seeing a lot of people saying, hey, you did a good job or anything like
Right.
that. That's when you realize that it's because you haven't really found a purpose in the project. And so when I started the Miami Webfest, from 2014 on, there's always been crowds. There's always been people submitting to the festival. People are excited about the festival. And what my commitment has always been to make sure that no one has the kind of experiences, negative experiences with the festival that I had.
Wow.
You know? So I'm always trying to make sure that we have, really good speakers who are, network executives who, if they can't do a deal with you, at least they can tell you, they can give you some information that's going to get you closer.
Point you in the right direction.
Right.
Because you even said something about Final Draft is a program.
Yeah, so it's a screenwriting program.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've become one of those people that goes to festivals and speaks and helps people get distribution deals and things like that.
Oh, okay. Right.
It wasn't initially my plan, but it just kind of evolved that way because, once I made the festival and I started reaching out to these executives to come to the festival and be a part of the festival, they started saying, wait, you're a filmmaker. Let me see some of your work. So, and that's actually how I met Maverick. So, Maverick, I met the CEO of Maverick, and
so talk about Maverick. Who Maverick is?
Yeah, so Maverick is a leading distributor of Black content, and what Maverick does is it elevates Black content to multiple platforms, right? So like the place that I described to you where I really didn't have distribution. So, no one was really seeing this awesome work, which, it was really to be at that stage in my development as a filmmaker. The work was objectively very good. Thanks in part to the fact that I surround myself with really talented people. And so when you work with Maverick, then they elevate the content. So my content is on Peacock, The Grio, Tubi, Redbox, Voodoo, Hoopla, Filmrise, Plex. It's on TiVo, TCL, Zumo, Afroland TV, Sling. There's just Fox Soul. So so they're very, very well connected. So the thing is, you have to be ready when that moment hits and ready to do whatever it takes to get that moment. So what happened with Maverick is, in addition to agreeing to come to the festival to, scope out new talent to do business with, they said to me, look, we like this web series to sell. We like the quality, we like the storyline, but it's too short. At the time, I think I had maybe 30 minutes of content, and the minimum is 90 minutes.
Oh.
So I had a choice to make, right? And I had already, at this point, I'd already sunk a lot of money into the project, my own money, and I was down the path, but it felt like a heavy lift to go back and reshoot and do more.
Right.
But I had to, at that moment, really look at the fact that, I'm in this moment, in that particular moment, I was in a place that 90% of independent filmmakers will never get to. The place where someone is willing to give you actual money and elevate your content to a nationwide audience.
Right.
So what I did in that moment was whatever needed to be done. So I went back to the drawing board. I figured out how to retell this story in a feature film format, which is very different from a web series, right? And that's exactly what I did. We went back, also in Virginia, filmed, a bunch of content, had it edited. My editor in Miami took over the editing of the project, and next thing you know, we have a feature film, and I'm delivering my first feature film to Maverick.
So you said in the very beginning that when you went out for roles, that you did not, in a sense, you weren't presented with roles that you thought, looked like Black excellence. So what did they have you portrayed as? Like a pimp, a gangster? What?
No, it was, although that was happening a lot, right? But
Mhm.
it was more like, janitor,
Oh,
or just a role that isn't really that significant to the storyline, if that makes sense,
okay.
right?
Mhm,
So
mhm.
when it's a role that's not that significant to the storyline, it may not. In my case, I just felt like it wasn't really moving. It wasn't a good use of my time because it wasn't really moving me forward. I had
Mhm.
gotten to a point where I had the experience of being on set, which was very good, but it just wasn't. It wasn't taking me to the next level,
Mhm,
and I
mhm.
felt like doing what I was doing wasn't ever going to get me to the next level.
Now, did you
Um,
go to acting school? Did you have any experience acting, or how did that come about?
yeah, so I had some experience in acting as a child, and then there is an acting school that I attended in Virginia Beach.
Okay.
Um, um, so the combination of those things, and then obviously you learn a lot on set, but you have to keep your skills sharp, right? And
Mhm.
so it's one of those things. I think you're always going to. I believe in mastery, right? So I believe that you want to every acting course you can take, you take them if you have the time, and any time that you can surround yourself with the greats, you also do that. So one of the things that I've been doing lately is surrounding myself with actors that have like a long trajectory, right? So
Mm.
I'm talking Jamal Willard, who played in the Biggie Smalls biopic, and
Okay. Mhm.
um, he's got a long trajectory. Then we have, of course, Trey Chaney, who is in my latest movie, which happens to be about human trafficking and young black women disappearing.
Mm.
And so that movie's called Clutch. It's coming out
Mhm.
late November. But
Mhm.
that movie is near and dear to my heart, not because I know someone who has disappeared, but
Mm.
because I think it's something that people don't really, it's something that you don't realize is happening until it touches your family.
Right. That's why I have my missing persons every week because thank God no one in my family is missing. But I just feel like in our community, we don't really talk about it and it's not highlighted. And I
Yeah,
tell people we cannot wait for mainstream media to tell our stories. We can't
hmm,
wait for them because it will never happen, which is a testament to what you're saying now because you're telling the story, and I think for young filmmakers, this is very important. Now, you talked about, now, this is something that I always tell people, especially in our community. It takes oftentimes networking, but it takes money. So, how much does it cost typically for independent film? 90 minutes.
so it really depends. So I would say typically on
Mhm.
a low budget, you're talking $1 million.
A
Um,
low budget is $1 million.
yeah, yeah, that's a
Oh
low budget.
my gosh.
Now, that being said, when you're an independent filmmaker, you have a lot more flexibility than you do when you're operating under, the guidelines of like, Hollywood, right? So, um, the more Hollywood actors you have in your project, the more expensive it's going to be. Um, Locations play a factor. Local regulations, things like that. But also, you have to consider the fact that independent filmmakers, if you've been doing it a while, typically you have amassed some contacts. You've done favors for people, they've done favors for you. And at the indie level, you have the flexibility to cash in on some of those favors. So it's not uncommon to see an independent filmmaker create $1 million film,
Mm.
proverbial $1 million film, for $100,000 or less in some cases.
Wow. So listen, we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to talk about movie reviews and how do you deal with movie reviews that may not be so favorable. So we'll be right back afterward. I have no idea what producer's going to show, but we'll be right back after these messages.
People had dogs. They had big dogs. As sure as I'm looking at what I see right now, so I'm walking. I'm like, oh my gosh. I kid you not, you guys. Thank God I had my grandfather's umbrella. And with that long black umbrella, I had to poke and step. It was either eaten or beaten. I was not going to be a dog's Alpo that day. So I had to fight. I just had my umbrella just sticking, and because the dog was like, arr, 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 arr. And then the owner finally came out the house. I don't know where the owner was. Obviously, he didn't have his door locked.
You're an awesome person. I'm sitting here taking notes.
I feel like you're awesome, and I just love your style.
Your bear principle hits it right on the nail. That bear effect is there.
For sure.
That's also the bear effect.
Wow, nice. That's I gotta ring the bell for you. Yes.
Your bear factor is that too. I would like to have a house, a car, a family, a dog. The bear, the bear comes out.
Literally.
Put that right next to bear. Let's put that right next to bear. And by the way, that was a crazy scene from that movie.
Oh,
that
yeah.
bear scene.
Без резких движений. Вот так, все. Есть. Нормально, все в порядке. Мы пошли. Ебать.
Because guess what? Your thoughts could be faulty. Your mind could be playing tricks on you.
All right, so we are back with filmmaker Bryan Thompson. And prior to the segment of leaving the break, talk about negative reviews, because sometimes the negative reviews can be very discouraging. We have the positive reviews and all. How do you deal with, and how can up and coming filmmakers deal with sometimes they get negative reviews of their films?
I grew up in a time where you just told people, you said things to their faces, right? And so, you know what I mean? And so when like someone yelling to you an insult from a distance is something that just you wouldn't even, it wouldn't generate any feelings for someone like me, right? Mm-hmm. And to me, when you make a negative review, online, it's really like, yelling from the right? No one knows who you are. No one knows if it's a bot. We already know that bots are deployed to generate, make people feel a certain way. Without going down the conspiracy theory, road, I can tell you that I don't read them because they have no value to me. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And also, normally whenever somebody puts a negative review that I've seen, it's always like there's no picture of them. It's not like, hey, I want you to know that I don't like you. You know what I mean? Now, if it comes from a news source, then then it's credible, and then I might read it. Right? There's been, luckily most of the reviews have been very positive for my film, but you get some every now and then. You're going to get someone who's like very highbrow, and they're judging you the same way they would judge a $10 million film, right? So I'm open to checking things out, but I take it all with a grain of salt, because they don't pay my bills, and they don't live my life, and all of my storylines have value to me.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I'm grateful for the opportunity to do them, but I also know that they're part of my journey.
Right. Now, speaking of storyline having value, Carter's family reunion. All right. So the premiere is going to be this Saturday, June 15th at the Vanguard in Hampton, Virginia. Talk about Carter's Family Reunion, and then we have a trailer to show folks.
Sure. So Carter's Family Reunion, it's part of a series actually about the Carter family. So the Carter family is a family that has a tradition. It's a very traditional family, right? And it's all about this family that they're trying to preserve and heal from a number of things that have happened to them because of just the way society has sort of treated them. It started with the great grandfather who was wrongfully convicted in Thanksgiving with the Carters. He was wrongfully convicted, and then the family generated this storyline of this tradition of Thanksgiving surprise, where because he was allowed to come home on Thanksgiving, and this sort of kind of set a precedent for the family. So the Carter Family Reunion is the next storyline in the sequence, and in Carter's Family Reunion, it's about it's a simple situation that becomes extremely complex. Basically, the matriarch and patriarch of the family invite everyone over to meet them for this big 4th of July celebration where everyone is talking about Juneteenth. And in this celebration, well, when everyone arrives, when people start arriving for the celebration, the matriarch and patriarch are FaceTiming to say that they're stuck in Brazil because they got dengue and they can't get on a plane, they can't get back. And so they all have to, in order to preserve this tradition, they all have to just find a way to put this thing together. And the tradition is very important to this family. But the other part of it, and of course, through the storyline, we understand the importance of things like creating generational wealth and becoming generational curses. And in this storyline, my character is really just trying to get home for Thanksgiving. I'm sorry, for
Independence
the
Day.
family reunion, and every possible thing that can happen that can go wrong to try to keep him from this happening goes wrong.
So let's take a look at this clip from Carter's Family Reunion. I have to say, one of the funniest scenes was the car scene where the young lady was in your car. Where was that filmed? That looked like the desert.
Yeah, that was filmed in El Paso, Texas.
Okay, I was about to say, I know that wasn't filmed in the Hampton Roads area. I'm like, where was that in Hampton Roads? So for the most part, where was it filmed, that movie?
So it was mostly filmed in Hampton, Virginia.
Okay.
But then most of the scenes where you see my character took place in El Paso, Texas.
Oh. So you had to actually make your way from Texas to Virginia.
Right.
Okay, all right.
And
so
I had
yes,
2 different crews. I was on that traveled.
All right. So what's happening Saturday, June 15th at the Vanguard in Hampton, Virginia?
So I wanted to get all of the actors together, those who actually live in Hampton Roads and those who can make it in from out of town. The star, Sophia Knowlton, she actually lives in Dallas, but she travels around a lot because she's in a lot of movies. But the purpose is really I want to showcase the talent that Hampton Roads has created. And so there's so many really, over the years, so many really talented actors and actresses that I have worked with, and crew also, like extremely talented crew that, post-COVID and even during COVID and before, maybe weren't getting as much notoriety as they deserve. So one of my mandates is to really, everyone that has been a part of my projects to this point, as we're starting to turn the corner, starting to see more investment in our projects, we're starting to see, a little bit bigger investments, and we're starting to have named actors, well-known actors in our projects. I want to recognize the people that participated along the way, right? I know that it's going to be constantly, new people as well.
Mhm.
But I really, those people who said yes when I couldn't, give them a whole lot. Those are the people that I want to really recognize on Saturday. And, I want to let the community also know that we're here, right? I've spent a lot of time in Miami. And, I'm still back and forth, but I actually I have a home in Virginia, and, Virginia is, I'm here to stay. Obviously, we have the Virginia Black Film Festival, which is kind of changed the game in a lot of ways, for a lot of things. And so it's very important to me that we build a community of Black entertainment, telling Black stories in Virginia.
Well, that is so important because, again, Saturday, June 15th at 8 p.m. at the Vanguard. Their information is on their website, but the address is 504 North King Street. So 504 North King Street in Hampton, Virginia at the Vanguard. We will be there. Now, it's interesting how I met Bryan. I met Bryan on the campus of Hampton University, and he was running around during the Virginia Black Film Festival, and I had no idea about the film festival. However, there's a good friend of mine who submitted a documentary called Homecoming, something I can't remember. So, yes. And I went and I got the information. I loved it, loved it, loved it, loved it. He had so many entries and the panel discussions and the people there. You had the mayor was there. You had Clifton Powell, actor Clifton Powell was there. You had Jesse Vaughn. You had these caliber people that have been in the business for such a long time. Maverick was there. And Maverick was there. They were presenting some type of deal, I remember, for something like that, which was outstanding. This was the Virginia Black Film Festival. And then since the Virginia Black Film Festival, you have launched into the Black Arts Foundation as well here in Hampton, Virginia. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the Black Arts Foundation is designed to elevate, it's a 501c3 that exists to elevate Black content, Black artists, and Black stories. So the Black Arts Foundation is about more than just film. All the fine arts, painters, sculptors, musicians, everyone that is an artist. There is something for you at the Black Arts Foundation. We're going to be doing events where we integrate all different types of art, art parties we call them, and we're going to be hosting parties. We're going to be doing comedy shows. There's a number of really exciting events that we're going to be doing, but all of it is designed to create opportunities for exposure as well as business opportunities for artists, not just in Virginia, but throughout the country. But we are based in Virginia, and so of course, a lot of what we're going to do is going to be right in Virginia.
Wow, I'm telling you, this is really exciting because I think for so long, in terms of working with our Black community, the actors and things of that nature, it seems like they're the same five that we see all the time. It's sort of like, okay, I know that there's more than this person, that person, that person, and then we have that person really just can't act. So how can we, and I'm not saying compete, but I know when I watch a show, when I see the caliber of acting, oftentimes the Europeans, their caliber of acting, in my opinion, supersedes ours. Do you find that, or is that just me? I don't know.
So there's a couple of things with that, right? So when you talk about indie film, we always have to be careful not to compare what we see in indie films with what we see in Hollywood films, right? I think that when we compare apples to apples and we look at some of the Black films that have been very successful, and to some of the white films have been very successful, I think my perception is that there is pretty much a level of equality in terms of quality. The issue is there isn't equality in terms of quantity. There's what we often find is that if you watch 10 movies that have predominantly white stars, and then you watch 10 movies that have predominantly Black stars, the probability is that those 10 movies that had the predominantly Black stars were also had lower budgets. You know what I mean? And so when you have lower budgets, often it's not an excuse to have like
But
that,
I agree, right?
like that, right? But people who are fully dedicated to their craft and are naturally more expensive. And then also there's a lot of training that goes on behind the scenes. Like there are movies that when they hire you, part of their budget is to train you. You know what I mean? Specifically, so I work with action movies, right? And so with a big action movie, we're not gonna just bring you in and then have the stunt team do their thing and then just boom, 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 you're doing it, because there's too much risk there. So there's a lot of training that goes into it, and that training is built in. It's really baked into the budget of the film.
So you mean to tell me if I'm hired as an actor, and they may say, Lisa, run from this dog, roll on the ground. They don't expect me to do that. I have to be trained, and I get paid for that.
Right, but also the stunt team would get paid to train.
Right. Oh,
right?
The stunt. Okay, so they're like consultants in a sense.
Yeah. But
Okay.
not only would they get paid to train you and to do the stunts those days, but also like your training. So let me put it to you this way: so you're trained, and you also have a stunt double.
Okay.
So some of the things you're gonna have to do, because it's too hard to get the angles to make it seem like it's the other person.
Okay, right.
And then so you're still gonna have to be trained for some of that stuff so that it looks crisp and real, and your punches look real, and you know what I mean, that kind of thing. That everything is solid. But that's not to say that you are doing every stunt in every scene. It's just there's a combination there. But all of these things cost money.
And that goes to budgeting. The budget.
Yes, exactly. There are also acting coaches that you have on-set acting coaches that can be hired to be on set, and they're there specifically to make sure that your take is really crisp.
And that's another line item. Budget.
Yeah, that's another line item. Another line item, when you talk about the editing is really important, because there are times when an actor will do exactly what they're supposed to do, and they'll do it. Let's say we do this particular take 7 times from 3 different angles. So now we have all of those takes. We have a total of 21 takes, and the editor must pick the 3 to mesh together. So if your editor is not good at identifying what the best take is, or your director isn't good at picking the best take, then you may have a problem, and people are going to think that person can't act, even though they can act. And they did a good job. It's just that the take that was selected was the wrong take.
I see. Yes. Now, how do you do casting? Like, when you cast for your characters, what is that process?
So there are a number of casting platforms that you can use, like Backstage, for example, right? So you go on these, or Actors Access. There are also casting agents that will organize a casting for you, another line item. And you know, but these casting agents will make sure that you get exactly what you need. And then there's also, so there's something called IMDb Pro, right? So with IMDb Pro, it gives you the information of certain actors and Hollywood actors, people who have agents, and you'll need to go through their agent, but at least you can identify the agent through a place like IMDb Pro, the online platform. And then from there, you start to negotiate with the agents directly, and then you figure out your price from there, and so all of these things kind of come together, because you're not going to do that with every single actor, but if there's a principal actor, or in some cases you're going to have 6 or 7 well-known actors in a movie, and that movie will still be sort of an independent film. You still have to, figure these things out in order to get the right people.
Wow. So where do you see Black film in the next 5 to 10 years?
I think things are going to get good. I think they're going to get good because we are evolving as a people. I think that we have become much more self-aware than probably we ever have, sometimes to a fault. I think that filmmaking is one of those activities that requires a lot of faith.
You said a lot of what?
Faith.
Oh, faith.
You know what I mean? The ability.
I think you said face.
Oh, that too.
All right. Like what?
That was a face.
I'm sorry. Okay. See, you never know what happens in the purpose week. I've been very good with you, Brian. I have to write, Kurt. I've been very on point. I'm very polished with it. Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead. All right. Action. All right, go.
Yes, right. It takes faith to make movies. The belief in something not seen. And in order to have that belief in something not seen, it's a muscle. And, I have found that particularly, pre-pandemic and just in general, the Black community has dealt with a lot of external issues that I think contribute sometimes to people's ability to believe. So when you attempt to do something that is genuinely difficult, and we all accept that it's difficult, you have to have complete faith. If you don't have the faith in the fact that it's going to be an excellent project, for example, then you're not going to do the things that are going to make it an excellent project.
Right.
Because a lot of the things that make a movie really good is just that additional attention to detail. It's just staying up one more hour to make sure that something is exactly right. You know what I mean? It's not always about the money. That's why, incidentally, my film company is called Imani Films. Imani means faith in Swahili. And so it's all about, the faith of being, stepping out on faith. I mean, that's what that's how I built my brand. You know, just
Right.
stepping in faith and creating these works. So when I look at the future of film, I'm looking at the future of, the future of Black film, looking at the future of Black people being able to step outside of their comfort zone, because entrepreneurship, that's the other thing. Whether you're an actor, a filmmaker, or a director, at some point, if you are just indie and you're not lucky enough to get a job at, Disney or one of these places, right off the bat, which it really generally doesn't work quite like that. You kind of got to work your way up. But in any case, if you're an indie filmmaker, at some point you will be an entrepreneur. In my case, most of the time I've been an entrepreneur. And so, and so how that should impact how you approach the entire process. You have to learn the basics of business, and entrepreneurs struggle with the exact same things that all independent filmmakers and people in the business on an indie level have to struggle with. How do I cover my overhead?
Right, pay your taxes.
Yeah, pay my taxes.
Audits.
Yeah,
it's a business.
Exactly.
It's a business, and I think a lot of artists get tripped up on the business because they're artists. Like that's their lane, art, not business. So it's challenging, and I'm glad you kind of pointed that out, because at the end of the day, it definitely is a business, and we know a lot of artists get hemmed and hawed because of tax evasion. And sometimes they may not know, or sometimes they're trying to be slick, or whatever it is, the IRS, they don't care. But, at the end of the day, it's a business. So what's next for Mr. Thompson in terms of movies? What do you have, unless it's top secret? Like, what do you?
So I can tell you this. I'm working on a film.
Okay. Okay.
So the movie Clutch that I mentioned to you is coming out in November, right? That movie's done. And I'm working on a film right now. It is called Blowback, and it is a film that stars a very well-known actor.
Oh, y'all hear that? Y'all hear that? First in the Urban Suite.
So I'm not supposed to say who it is, but I will say this.
Okay.
It is an actor who was one of our special guests at the Virginia Black Film Festival.
Oh, wonderful.
So you go to VirginiaBlackFilmFestival.com and you figure out which one of our special guests it was. That's the person.
Yes.
Who we are making this movie with.
Yes.
Okay. And this movie is an action project. It's going to be filmed in 2 locations. It'll be filmed in Virginia, in probably several different parts of Virginia, but definitely at least a few scenes in Hampton, Virginia.
Okay.
And then it will be filmed. A lot of the action stuff is going to be filmed in Madrid, Spain, because we have 2 stunt teams that we're bringing in for this project. One of the stunt teams is led by Willie the Bam Johnson. So if you look him up, Willie the Bam Johnson, he is very successful fight scene choreographer. He's been on television a number of times. He's got a documentary on Maverick right now. He owns a dojo in Marlboro, Maryland, and he will be coordinating our U.S.-based fight scenes.
Okay.
And then the stuff that we're filming in Madrid, Spain, that his name is George Karja, and George is a Romanian-born director who's based in Madrid, and he's got a movie on Netflix right now called Lady of the Damned Forest. He's got a very impressive resume. He's also a martial artist. He also has his own stunt team, which he trains on a regular basis. So we are, I'm sticking with, and you can probably see a trend here. I always surround myself with people who really, really know what they're doing.
Right.
So that, and they are the ones who really make the project shine. So this particular project, it is going to look like a John Wick film.
Okay, and this is Blowback. Low
Yeah,
back.
low back. Yeah.
Low back. Okay.
So
And then Clutch is in November.
yeah, Clutch is in November. Clutch is already filmed.
Okay. Premiere for Clutch. Where can we see Clutch? Is there going to be a premiere?
So I can send you a private link, and we can talk about it. But the actual film, we'll have, once I have a release date, which will probably be somewhere around Thanksgiving time frame. Then I'll do a premiere, and it may be in the same place that we're doing a premiere for this one.
Right, the Vanguard. Yes, that would be fun. That's around my birthday. My birthday is the day after Thanksgiving.
Hey. That means something.
All right, Mr. Thompson, any last words that you would like to share with, emerging, up and coming artists, someone that wants to, get to where you are?
Yeah. So don't give up. There are many, as I look back on, my journey up until this point, there have been a tremendous number of moments where I just wanted to give up. I should rephrase that. It's not that I wanted to give up. I felt it was best to give up because I was in so deep and I was just operating at a loss, and I couldn't really find my way to connect with the people to whom my films would matter. Patience is one of the most difficult things for an entrepreneur to have. And especially when that entrepreneur is an artist, it's really difficult. But I would say patience and faith were the things that got me to this point, because you're not going to be perfect when you start. I was very, very lucky to have started creating content that was so good so early on. And it was only because I had access to people who were really that good at what they were doing. You know what I mean? Right. So you have to be patient with the process. The process is, the process of me getting to a Maverick Entertainment was a process of, I'm sinking money into this thing. I don't know when or where or how I'm going to keep creating a plan. If the plan doesn't work, I'm going to tweak the plan, and then I'm going to try again. You just absolutely have to have that perseverance to get to the next level. Now, and then, just to give you an idea of what I mean, when I first started, I told you that I was going after sponsors. I was looking for, not sponsors, but investors, right? And so, and I'm knocking on doors, and all the doors are closing for me. But what I realize now is those doors were closing for me because God was closing those doors. Because I wasn't ready yet. You know what I mean? It's like closing the door to the oven because your cake isn't baked yet. Right. I wasn't ready. And when I was ready, that's when the door started opening. And so now I'm at a point where, I have to turn away investors sometimes, and I have to, really limit the involvement, because there won't be no piece of the pie left for me.
Right. Yes.
But also, it's like it's done a complete 180, where it's just like no one believes in you until everyone believes in you. Then people start believing in you, and I really credit the fact that people believe in me to the fact that I believed in all these independent filmmakers, both in Miami and Virginia, that I could do something to make their lives and their journey a little bit better, a little bit easier by doing these festivals.
Now, is there a website? I'm sorry, a website. Because what is your website?
Sure. So Imani Films, IMANI. So if you celebrate Kwanzaa, it's Imani, films.com. And that's my film website. And then Virginia Black Film Festival is VirginiaBlackFilmFestival.com. Black Arts Foundation is blackartsfoundation.org. And Miami Web Fest is miamiwebfest.com.
Well, that sounds easy enough to remember. It is what it is, right? I mean, that's what it is. You just spell it out, right? Hello. But you made a very valid point about the cake in the oven, because oftentimes if we open that oven prematurely, what happens to that cake?
Yeah, it falls flat.
It falls flat. Oh my God, yes. No one wants a flat cake.
No.
We don't bake a pancake. You want a regular cake, not a pancake. If you want a flat cake, you do something else. You put it on top of a skillet, So yes. All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Thompson, for being here. So that's Amani Films, IMANI Films.com.
That's right.
Virginia Black Film Festival.com. BlackArtsFestival.org.
BlackArtsFoundation.org.
BlackArtsFoundation.org. BlackArtsFoundation.org. I should know better, Lisa. All right. So anyway, thank you so very much, Mr. Thompson, for coming into the Urban Suite with me, Dr. Lisa LaCon. Have a wonderful day. God bless. And I will see you Saturday at the premiere.
That sounds great. Thank you for all you do. This is a great, great show. And I wish you continued success.
Thank you. Share. Sharing is caring. Except
I will.
But the biggest thing is always keep doing your homework. Don't get comfortable, because there's always new ways to do something. And that's the best way to learn, is to keep, informing and teaching yourself, and be professional at all times. And just, don't give up.
Don't give up. That's just like that clip at the beginning. Don't give up. That is key. Don't give up.
Do not give up.
Don't give up. If you know your purpose in life,
you should never give up.
You keep pushing that plow. Keep putting your hand and pushing that plow.
We're not going to give up.
It's not going to come just by osmosis, in a sense.
We must not give up.
Or just by you saying, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that.
Never give up.
Ніколи не здавайся. Ніколи не здавайся.
You have to work hard at it. And you can do it.
I won't give up.
All right. So thank you guys for entering into the Urban Suite with me, Dr. Lisa LaCon, with Bryan Thompson. I know I learned a lot. So hopefully you will also. So we will be back next week, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Lord willing, in the Urban Suite with me, Dr. Lisa LaCon, where you laugh, learn, cry, and grow. And on that note, Molly, take us away.